Welcome back. So the National Assembly, the House of Representatives specifically, has promised Nigerians speedy process to amending the 1999 Constitution. And they've in fact commended Nigerians for the healthy turnout at the National Public Hearing yesterday in Abuja. So now let's do a temperature check of where exactly we are with the National Assembly's intervention to the sixth alteration of the 1999 Constitution. And joining us on the program this morning is Mr. John Ebikeseye Mutu. He's the Executive Director of the African Parliamentary Research Center. He's also the National Coordinator for Democracy Vanguards. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Good morning, Mr. Mutu. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
So first of all, let's read the room. It's been months down the line with meetings with groups, civil societies by the National Assembly. What do you see, not just in what legislators are saying, but with deliberate attempts, to engage and ensure that the popular will of the people reflects in those items that are on for the sixth alteration, and we've mentioned them earlier: state police, electoral reforms, inclusion. What do you see in the engagement, in the body language of the legislators?
I think first I want to congratulate the leadership and members of the National Assembly for adopting a very, very participatory process and approach towards the amendment of the 1999 Constitution. From the beginning, the first thing they did was to outline, the thematic areas where they want citizens to make inputs and share this out to the citizens, where they call for memoranda and input from Nigerians. And based on those thematic areas, Nigerians, submitted memoranda and also advocated for specific issues that they wanted the National Assembly to take forward. And having articulated those issues, they came up with bills which they felt captured the views and the aspirations of Nigerians, and to ensure that they really get the support of the people. Those issues were subjected to public hearing at the various geopolitical zones. You remember, in June, July, those items were taken to the various zones for Nigerians to make their comment on those issues, where Nigerians also expressed their views at the zonal hearings. This time around is the last of those hearings at the national level, where the House of Reps once again invited Nigerians to come again and make their issue, especially those around the Federal Capital Territory, to make their inputs. This is the last public hearing that we expect to see, especially from the House of Representatives. And from what I've seen, Nigerians have really, really impressed me. They've leveraged the opportunity provided by the National Assembly and engaged effectively. They've also canvassed for their issues. Both, like you mentioned, the state police issue is critical. I've also seen people talking about state creation. But among all this, the one that really came out top among them is the issue of special seats for women. And you saw at the public hearing yesterday where women in their numbers mobilized to the venue to canvass for their issues. And this is how democracy is supposed to be: provide platform, provide opportunities for Nigerians to air their views and advocate for the issues. And the National Assembly, based on the issues that have been advocated for, you look at the popular ones, you look at the ones that resonate with Nigerians, and ensure that those bills are passed. I see no reason why the special seat bill should not be passed, because the preponderance of opinion is that it's a popular bill. You saw what happened yesterday, where over 1 million signatures, compendium comprising over 1 million signatures were submitted to the leadership of the House of Reps. This is how democracy should be, and I'm quite happy. The National Assembly is doing a good job, but they need to take it to the finish line. I'll stop here for now.
Mr. Mutu, if the special reserved seats bill eventually is passed, how is that going to work?
You mean the special seat bill?
Yes. How is that going to work?
For me, before I come to that, let me say this. Our democracy, like I said, is emerging. This is an emerging democracy, and both citizens and the lawmakers, continue to dialogue to see that they block loopholes and gaps that they see in our governance framework. You notice in the past, Nigeria and the government has taken initiatives to address issues of exclusion, systemic exclusion, and also to ensure that at least citizens have opportunity to participate in the governance process, and to also ensure that every shade of opinion is captured in the governance process. We have taken certain initiatives in the past. One of those initiatives is the federal character, like you know, to ensure that at least every segment of the society or no particular zone dominates the governance process. The second initiative that was taken is ensure, based on equality, the House of Reps and the House of Assembly is based on population, but the Senate based on equality, ensuring that each state at least produce 3 senators so that at least all states are equally represented. But this is based on demographic representation. No effort has been taken to look at in geopolitical representation, but no effort has been taken to look at it from the demographic perspective. Women constitute almost about 50% of our population, and not just that, women constitute about 50% of the voting population. How do we ensure that this huge voting bloc have a seat at the table where decisions are taken? It is based on that women have been advocating for opportunities to be more inclusive, for the system to be more inclusive, especially at the legislature, where critical decisions are taken on behalf of government. So for me, it's a developmental issue, it's a governance issue, not just a women issue. It is an issue that resonates with Nigerians. So on that basis, I congratulate the National Assembly for taking this bold step. How is it going to work? From what you've seen, they've proposed 1 seat for women in each of the 36 states in the House of Reps and the Senate. It means at the end of the electoral cycle, we will have a minimum of 37 female senators in the National Assembly, in addition to the other ones that will emerge from the other seats. Then in the House of Reps, you also have a minimum of 37 women, each representing a state in the House of Reps. So in the National Assembly, you'll be having a minimum of 74 seats. At the state level, you have an additional seat in each of these geopolitical zones, senatorial zones, so you are going to have 3 additional seats for women in each of the states. If you add the total across the 36 states, you are going to be having at least 108 women in the state legislature. This does not preclude the women from contesting for the other seats in each of the Houses of Assembly, or the other 109 seats in the Senate, or the 360 seats in the House of Representatives. In essence, a woman, those seats that have been so created, will only women will be eligible to contest for those seats. No man can aspire for those seats. However, both men and women will vote for those that will be aspiring. And the women will go through the normal, party primaries where candidates will be elected, and they will go through the electoral process just like every other senator.
All right, let's take advantage.
The senatorial districts for the... Okay.
Pardon me, let's take advantage of the time that we have to expand on other aspects of the subject. And we're getting to the point where the rubber meets the road now. Looking at the positioning of the House of Representatives, that it would transparently engage the state assemblies on the items, what do you envision, to be the challenges that could arise? And I ask this against the backdrop of the issues in the 9th Assembly, when the Deputy Senate President said, state governors had turned state assemblies into puppets, and then there were, obstacles to getting issues of state police through. So what are the challenges that you envision in these areas, and how can they be, surmounted ahead of time?
It depends on the issue. It depends on the issue. The first is to cross the line. There are 2 more stages. After the public hearing, the next stage that we expect is for the committee to go through all the bills that are before them. The entire committee members will have to adopt those bills. Those bills that go through that process will now be presented on the floor of each of the houses in the Senate and the House of Representatives for them to vote. And each of those bills will have to secure at least 2/3 majority in each of the chamber. So if state police is able to scale through the House of Reps, and is also able to scale through the Senate, then it becomes a bill that will now be among those that will be transmitted to the states. And if the special seat bill also succeed, it will also, it's not all the bills that are likely to go through. So the first hurdle is to make sure that it passed through the National Assembly. And if you remember, an example, the special seat bill and the state police bill failed at the National Assembly. They didn't go to the states. So let's assume that all these bills succeed and they are transmitted to the State Assembly, like you rightly noted. Yes, it's part of the democratic process. These bills will have to be ratified by the State House. You must get at least 24 State House of Assembly out of the 36 voting in favor of each of these bills. That is what the constitutional amendment process says. Again, it's a game of numbers. You just have to keep engaging. The National Assembly has proposed. They have to be ratified by the State Assembly, and not just the State Assembly. Even when those bills succeed at the State Assembly, the President still has to assent. So I will rather ask the advocate for those issues to continue to engage the State House of Assembly, just like they have engaged with the National Assembly, engage with the state governors, who are also stakeholders in the process. I don't expect any state governor to just sit by and watch if there are issues that impact on their own interest. So it's part of the trade-off processes. And I will ask the advocates, including the National Assembly, to make sure that all bottlenecks are removed and make sure they engage the state government and the State House of Assembly. It's an issue of sensitization, it's an issue of lobbying and ensuring that everybody is carried along. That way, we'll be able to get to the finish line.
Yes, Mr. Mutu, because I have concerns with these public hearings. 6 geopolitical zones for a population of about 200 million plus, some say 230 million plus. I was in Enugu State some time ago where one of those reviews held, and I was wondering, those who are the grassroots, the villages, the hinterlands, where their views really captured, where their reservations really captured in these public hearings, that's a big concern for me, because if you ask the average Nigerian right now about this constitutional review, are they even aware that this is ongoing?
I agree with you. But if you remember, it's a process that has taken up for more than a year, and this engagement has been going on all this period. I know that first it started with the call for memoranda of submission of memoranda, and again 3 months or 6 months after, these issues have now been taken back to the various zones for Nigerians to again review, like I said earlier. For the House of Reps, they did in 12 states, 2 per geopolitical zone. But for the Senate, they did in the 6 zones, but 1 in each geopolitical zones. They could have done more, but that is the only way, or that's the only, based on limited resources and based on the limited time available. That is the approach they have taken. But I'm also aware that citizens, their representatives, leaders, cultural leaders, mobilize across the country to attend those zonal hearings. We won't expect the entire 220 million Nigerians to be at these hearings, but at least attempts were made to take it as close as possible to the people for them to be able to also engage. And I'm also glad that the media have also played a critical role. Civil society groups have also carried out sensitizing, especially on the women bill. In the 9th Assembly, when the women bill failed, you know, the sensitizations was quite limited, and because of that, a lot of people were not part of that process. But this time around, they've carried out serious advocacy, even to secondary schools, to the tertiary educational institutions. They took it to the communities where Nigerians participated. So if you ask me, at least there is improvement in the process this time around.
All right, let's quickly get this one through, which is a key part of the conversation. There is a proposal for the creation of 31 new states. Some would say more states, more trouble. Where are you on this very divisive topic?
I think Nigerians have a right to continue to demand for what they feel is important and what will help improve the governance process. And one of those issues that they have quite called for is state creation. And state creation is not new. It has been on since the first alteration to the Constitution. But the truth of the matter is that have they gone through the process that was, provided for in the Constitution? Have they met the threshold? Have they met the requirement? I remember the Deputy Speaker once issuing a press release that of all of them, none of them have met the threshold, and asked them to do a second round of submission, which most of the advocates did. They presented their report, but the question is that the states and local boundary adjustment law act specifically provided for the process through which state creation will go through. So let's test the law, let's test the process and see if they meet the threshold. Right. Why not? It's part of the government. After all, once upon a time, we had only 12 states. Today we have 36 states, and let's see how far we can go. But you can't deny Nigerians to ask for what they think is right.
Can federalism thrive with additional burden? Perhaps we should reflect on that before those proposals go through. We must thank you very much for your time on the program. We've been talking with Mr. John Ebikeseye Mutu. He's the Executive Director of the African Parliamentary Research Center. Thank you for coming through on this subject.
Thank you so very much for having me. Thank you.